Good morning, day 103. I decided to do something a little different today. I'm sitting on my front porch. Still have a beautiful view, but it's sprinkling a little bit. And I have a beautiful view. I do not golf. I grew up in a family of golfers, but golf courses are beautiful. So there's the lovely view of the golf course. My husband says maybe he'll play one day when he can't play basketball anymore. So maybe that's in our future. Who knows? I enjoy playing because it's out in nature and it's kind of slow paced. I walk around a lot, so go figure. Okay, so wandering off. I read Psalm 119 this morning, which is the longest chapter in the Bible. Did you know that? It's like 3-4 pages long, which is long for the Bible. Hey, good morning. And you'll probably hear, I'm going to talk a little loud because I live on a main road. I don't live inside of a neighborhood, so traffic is a little bit hopefully, that's why I'm usually not at home because of the traffic. So I'm going to really hope that the traffic works. I'm experimenting. I'm wandering off the path. Hey, I didn't even realize that. I'm wandering off my normal routine to try something different. And it can be good for us to wander off a little and with purpose and with intention. But when we just wander off, when we maybe have some good habits in place, one of which for me is like being in the Word, prayer, service. When I get off of those things, when I wander off the path, isn't it funny how some other aspects, like it throws our whole world off and we might run into trouble. We might find ourselves in the thick of some briars or, and then wonder like, how did this happen? Oh, I wandered off. So you'll have to tell me, those of you that are here, how the traffic is sounding. Is it bad? But I thought I would read right from, and Psalm 119 is interesting because evidently it's an acrostic. So it has these different sections that each begin with, to me, what I thought were names, but they're actually, I guess, words of the Hebrew alphabet. And so it has, oh, good, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to read the section called Teth. You have done many good things for me, Lord, just as you promised. I believe in your commands. Now teach me good judgment and knowledge. I used to wander off until you disciplined me. I actually started laughing out loud, and I keep chuckling every time I read it because I'm like, but now I closely follow your word. You are good and do only good. Teach me your decrees. Arrogant people smear me with lies, but I obey your commands with all my heart. They should insert the word now. Now I do this, but I had to learn the hard way. Their hearts are dull and stupid. Like, well, weren't you just being kind of dull and stupid? But anyway, I delight in your instruction. My suffering was good for me, for it taught me to pay attention to your decrees. Your instructions are more valuable to me than millions in gold and silver. Boy, don't we have to learn the hard way sometimes? And throughout this series of paragraphs or acrostics in this chapter, it constantly is talking about the word, all the different aspects of the word, the benefits of the word. It revives you, it comforts you, it keeps you on the path. It's unfailing, it's trustworthy, it's steadfast. Like, this is the one thing that doesn't change. And yet we go out in the world And it struck me too. This might have to be another day. The word word and the word world only have one letter that's different. I think there's something there. And we get very caught up in our physical world because we have to, like we're physical beings. We've got to navigate. We're here for a reason. It does matter. But when it becomes the primary thing and we forget that there's a bigger thing going on that our Creator wants us to learn and pay attention to and that we're here for, yeah, we wander off and our lives become a mess. And it's interesting when we're in the Word, when we're really in the Word, like our heart, not just heads, but heart, like things in our worlds just seem to work better. Have you noticed that? I sure have. But it takes sometimes this trial and error of wandering off to really know it, if you know what I mean. And I think a lot of times we have other habits in our lives that we kind of play around with. We're like, oh yeah, this seems to work, but you don't really know until you kind of fall off the wagon, and then you're like, oh, that really does make a difference. And some of us just have to learn the hard way. That's just part of the process. And I work with people coaching. I work with in my real estate world, in this crazy market of, with buyers. It's always hard when you're buying a house. It's a big decision, but sometimes you have to miss out on a house and sleep on it, and then somebody else gets it while you were sleeping on it, and you're like, oh, darn. But you learn from that. Like, nothing is a failure until you quit, until it becomes just your permanent way of being. You just give up. It's always learning. And that's what I really just resonated with this, because this is almost like the whole Bible is like, your life coach. If you need a life coach, like, open your Bible. God is our life coach. Here I was for like my whole adult years, like, nobody gives you a manual on how to live life. Yeah, it's there. Open the darn thing and read it for yourself. And I'm doing this now for the first time. Like, I've read it in bits and pieces. I've done Bible studies for years. I've read books, but I've never like really just sat down by myself, meditated on the Word from front to back. It's a game changer. It's a whole different thing, learning the Bible on your own directly from the source and meditating on it. It is going from here to here in a way like nothing else has been able to do. Not that devotions and Bible studies and all of this stuff is not worthy of my time and good in and of itself, but doing this on your own, man. But anyway, that just made me chuckle. Wandering off. It really does have value, but only, you have to finish this verse or this section. Our suffering is good for me when we allow it to teach us. If we're looking for the teaching. A lot of us enter the suffering part and we forget about being teachable and learning and turning it into a learning. And we blame, we give up, we become depressed, we become angry. And I even stay that way for a while. I don't have this figured out by any means. I'm still in this process of wandering off, learning and going, oh yeah, duh. And then going back. But this is kind of how it works with a lot of things. We people are stubborn. We're hard-headed. It takes us a while. Anybody who's a parent can even watch this with children. And then we're constantly correcting them and like, I told you, don't, like, they've got to learn the hard way, teenagers. And yet we'll look in the mirror and go, oh, yeah, I totally kind of did this myself. I'm expecting perfection from my kids and for them to have it figured out. And yet here I am doing the same thing. Maybe it's on a different level with some of the things that kids might suffer or struggle from, but still, nonetheless. So I just thought this was really, hopefully it gave you a little bit of a chuckle too. And you're like, oh yeah. Like, we humans have been struggling with this since the dawn of time. But it's never failure. It's always purposeful. One of my favorite verses, my life verse, is in 2 Corinthians, the God of all comfort. Like, to me, that's part of what those verses are even saying. Like, don't ever let your suffering or your struggles or the things that happen to you ever go to waste. They're there for a purpose, because we're all going through the same thing. And when you take that, you learn from it, you get back on the path, and then you can help somebody else do the same thing and give them hope. And so it's not to even keep it to ourselves. That's when it becomes, like in the last verse here, more valuable than millions in gold and silver. Because if you can get things right even a little bit of the time through the word and living according to the way God designed it and relating to life, relating to people, relating to yourself in the way that is intended, in the right order of things, and stay on the path, the money, the comfort, like all of those, your desires, like it all like kind of falls into place. It gets aligned. You don't have to struggle to be happy, to find joy. But most of us are so focused on the results and trying to figure out how to get them that we're not doing things behind the scenes at the root that will just make those things happen naturally, right? Like, that's where I'm like, oh, I was out there trying to do it the worldly way because that's what makes sense to our physical senses. And then when I really got so exhausted from that, then I'm like, okay, this is not working. And decided to just kind of cry uncle, like, okay, I will try it God's way. These people out here seem to know a thing or two. Let me go do what they're doing. And a lot of them were opening their Bibles that seem to have lots of good things happen. And, there's a lot of people that open their Bibles, because I was one of them, so I'm not like kind of scolding anybody, because I was like this, that are trying to just open their Bibles, check the box, okay, did my prayer, 10-minute devotion, I go to church on Sunday. Like, we're living at the top level thinking that's enough, or maybe we can just absorb by osmosis from other people, or if we're, even if we're sincere in those moments, but then we wander off, the second regular life starts happening, and we're not really abiding and living like this all the time, and we're falling into the traps of worry and doing everything, in our regular lives like it's compartmentalized. It's not really part of the fabric of our being and our lives and how we move throughout the day. And that when something happens, do we take a breath and just go, okay, God, or do we just figure it out in our own? And it's a process of learning how to do that. It takes all the wandering off and doing it your own way or somebody else's way and suffering as a result before we realize, oh, I've wandered off again. There I go again. I know when I'm driving, my husband tells me all the time, as soon as because I love to look at trees and nature and all that, which is not always the safest thing to do when you're a driver. And he'll tell, and I will my car will start to go a little bit that way when I just look off. Even though I'm on the path, it seems like I'm going straight to me. I'm like, how could just looking off for just a few seconds be bad? Like, look at how great that thing is over there. And then my car will start to, and it was interesting. I was reading just yesterday a I'll have to go back and find where it was probably like on a Facebook article or something. That if people that are blindfolded, will eventually walk in a circle. They think they're walking in a straight line, but they eventually will naturally walk in a circle. And I thought, well, isn't that a great analogy? Like, we end up literally chasing our tails, walking in the same circle. Most marriages have the same same 3 fights for 30 years or their whole marriages, and they never stop to go, okay, what's happening here? But it's never a different argument. It's always the same argument in a different form, the same 2 or 3 fights, year after year, week after week, and people never like think to themselves, or maybe some do, but some don't. They just maybe end up just saying, this just doesn't work. And we have a high divorce rate and broken families, when if they'd just taken the time to do this, to pay attention and learn and be taught what was at the root of the problem. Anyway, I'm kind of getting off topic here. And I have got to make sure my teen doesn't wander off from getting ready for school and that we end up being late, because we've done that a time or two. All right. Have a great, fantastic day. Thanks for sitting with me on my front porch and looking at the beautiful green Kentucky bluegrass that all of these April showers are bringing. All right, go have a great day. Go rise and shine. If you're going to rise, you might as well shine, right? Go get back on track. If you've wandered off, go get back on track and learn from it. Don't just let it be, oh, I went off track. Like, why did you go off track? What exactly did you do to get off track? Like, be teachable. Learn from it so that way it can be of service to somebody else who gets off track. Don't let all of that be wasted. When we get too self-critical about it and get, why can't I get it together? Like, that's not helpful. Make it helpful. Like, learn from it. Get underneath. Find out why you got off track. So that way, not only do you help yourself from not getting off track again and wandering off, but you can help other people. You can be a way shower. That's like, that right there is like, I think, part of why we're here, the secret of it all. That's not really so secret if we just look for it and pay attention. All right. Love you, my friends. I'll keep going if I don't stop myself. All right. Bye.